Hey guys, Sifro Joe here. Today we're going to do another game review. Tonight's game review is going to be of Shovel Knight for the Wii U. Let's get this started. Also, we're going to be including Plague of Shadows in this, so if you're that one guy who's just played Shovel Knight once when it was released, and you were like, wait a minute, I can't do all this stuff, that's because it got updated. Well back in my day, we didn't have this game update. We had slavery instead. How the heck are those two things related? I don't know. I'm just okay. Um, Why is this the second video I've done that's had old people in it? Anyway, let's get this started. So what is Shovel Knight about? We'll start with the Shovel Knight campaign, because, the game is called Shovel Knight, not everybody else but Shovel Knight. Well, you see, it's the same plot as Mario. It's basically, God, again! Hey, you kid! Just run! Buy a gun. I swear. Anyway. So Shovel Knight has to basically defeat the 8 Knights in order to get through. It's like if Mario and Mega Man, well... Yeah, just fill in the rest of the joke yourself. Anyway, so the game starts Shovel Knight. If you couldn't tell by the fact the game was called Shovel Knight. So sorry for all of you who thought it was going to star I Hate Everything. And a piece of poo. Emoji. That's going in the tags. Anyway, Shovel Knight can basically bounce like Scrooge McDuck can in DuckTales. However, as someone who just reviewed DuckTales Remastered earlier this year, I gotta say that DuckTales Remastered had a lot better pogo bouncing for the fact that, well, you could actually bounce. Okay, let me phrase it like this. In DuckTales, jumping and bouncing is like this. You see, you can still bounce. In Shovel Knight, it's like, aww. And because you can only bounce off of enemies, this mirrors one of the best parts of DuckTales. The rest of the game makes up for it. I do want to say, however, the controls are really well done and always feel accurate. So, yay! Shovel Knight also has health and magic. The magic allows you to use spells like in Zelda 2. You get more of it in the towns, like in Zelda 2. Yay! Yeah, if you can't tell, Shovel Knight was an indie game, and indie games, especially this one, seem to have a lot of 8-bit throwbacks. Okay, I'm good. I'm a retro gamer. I can dig this. However, it looks far more 16-bit than 8-bit, but that's just a nitpick. In these towns, you can also get more weapons, armor, and much more. My favorite weapon in the Shovel Knight campaign has to be the coin, plus because it gives you money, and money is how you buy stuff. In case you thought you bought stuff with some beats. Exactly. I don't know what I was exactly into. So anyway, you use these weapons by pressing the X button. R changes them, and so does L. If you press L and R at the same time, though, the weapons go blank. What was the point of that feature? It's really more a minor annoyance than anything else. However, it is a minor annoyance for a reason. It ruins the entire game! No, wait, that's not a minor annoyance at all. Anyway, as the game goes on, you have to fight bosses at the end of each level. I do have to say the levels are uniquely designed. And really, all of the bosses were bland, to be honest. I mean, Mole Knight was pathetically easy, especially with, I forget the name, but the green bubble, the one that bounces. And Plague Knight was near impossible without the invincibility weapon. But besides that, the only time I had some issue was during the boss rush. And speaking of the levels themselves, they are really good. Each level provides a unique gimmick, and while I couldn't rename all of them off the top of my head, I could at least tell you one thing that sticks each level out if you gave me an eye. Like, for instance, platform moving over a giantless pit of death. the whole game, be more specific. Little ice things that vomit rainbows. Oh yeah, that's the winter stage. Can't remember the guy's name though, because the guys are far more bland. I mean, they got some really basic dialogue, but it's pretty much Shovel Knight, I am evil. Well, man, I am good. Shovel Knight, I will kill you. Man, I will kill you first. No, you won't. Boss battle. Really, though, I remember the designs more than the actual characters, which are weird. Also, throughout the game, there are parts where you're trying to save Shield Knight, this game's princess, basically. And Shovel Knight does have far more characteristics. In fact, I feel like Shovel Knight legitimately cared about Shield Knight, which is hard to do when he doesn't talk at all. Shovel Knight has a very small but active personality. I can describe him like he's, well, I guess the best word would be determined to save his friend. Anyway, speaking of which, let's get to that. After you refight all 8 bosses, you come to the final boss, who is a mild annoyance. But then you save Shield Knight and face the final boss, who is Shield Knight is easy. Then the game ends. Yay. But that's not all. After Shovel Knight was released, they later released a little update of it called The Plague of Shadows, which I think has to do with you playing as a rat trying to spread the Black Plague everywhere. That's not it? You play as Plague Knight? Okay. Like I mentioned, he was the only boss in the original game that I had some trouble with. Let's see what he does. His plot is a lot different. Instead, it takes place during the Shovel Knight game, but instead of trying to... Oh, God. That's it, kid. I'm getting the gun. What the heck is my gun? Crap, I just realized I don't have a gun. Oh. Oh, wow. Should get one, though. You should get a gun these days. Instead, I think, trying to do research, but I didn't pay attention. Plague Knight has different abilities compared to Shovel Knight, and while the levels are similarly designed, they are designed in a way that Plague Knight feels like he was, at the same time, put in these worlds. It's like, Yacht Club Gaming wanted to put in a character that actually worked to see how it went, and I think it went well. Instead of a shovel, Plague Knight's weapon is the Black Plague. That will probably not be my last plague joke in this review. Or it might, I don't know. I don't even edit my stuff. You think I script it? Just staring at myself. Sup, camera me? Oh, nothing much. Anyway, Plague Knight instead uses little bombs that he throws down to the ground. And you can set them to when they explode. I always make them explode immediately. He also gets more sub-weapons, but I never used them, to be honest, mainly because I never bought most of them. They cost far more than they did in the main game, or maybe that's because there's less money to get or something, I don't know. Or you just buy items more frequently. It's probably something along those lines. However, you can trade in the useless relics that were actually Shovel Knight's weapons. So wait, are we preventing Shovel Knight from getting these weapons? Huh. Anyway, in this game you also get coin chippers, which will allow you to buy more items if you get a certain amount of them. There are like 20 in each stage, I think, and I probably collected like 1 in each stage. Okay, that's a slight exaggeration. I didn't collect any in the entire game. I think. I don't know. Could check my Wii U. Nah, too lazy. I mean, I don't edit my stuff. Do you really want me to go upstairs and check? Because I'm not gonna, okay? Anyway. So with that, and the fact you buy items more frequently, you might think, okay, the items would be much more useful. They're not. The only one I ever used was a bomb. Although the bosses are pretty much the same, except a couple are a bit easier. Really, that's not saying much. If you could take down these guys with Shovel Knight, you can take them down as Plague Knight. Although I do love how you fight Shovel Knight instead of Plague Knight during Plague Knight's stage. And the battle with Shovel Knight was really fun, except, hey, you used multiple weapons. You can't do that. Dang Yacht Club Games! Anyway, so all you play is Plague Knight. You go through all 8 stages, blah blah blah. Although you can't go for the towns, otherwise the townspeople will be scared of you because you're Plague Knight. I wonder what happens if he removes his mask, though. Like if I remove my skin? Is that his face? I don't know. He's always wearing a hoodie. Who wears a hoodie? It's summer! It's summer, Plague Knight! Take off your fracking hoodie! Global warming is making it harder, okay? Anyway, you beat all 8 guys, you fight all 8 bosses again, and then Hey, Shovel Knight doesn't pick you up, that jerk! You could pick up the bosses in the main game if you felt like it, but luckily with your magic floating powers, which I forgot to mention because really I barely ever use them, you get away and fight the final boss, which starts off the exact same as Shovel Knight's final boss. The second phase is the exact same. And then we get Wily number 7, I think, from Mega Man 7. And then that's it. Yay. The Plague Knight game didn't really stick out, though, and that's the main problem. Well, there were a few key features, such as the Shovel Knight battle. That really is more standard. If I were Yacht Club Games, I'd make it more interesting. Like, I don't know, have a guy who walks up to his window in a Mr. Plinkett voice and says, "Dang you kids, get off my lawn." That's pretty interesting. And subscribe to the guy who does that, because he's awesome. And just so you know, if there are any updates, I will review them as separate games. But they probably won't be for a while. So what are we reviewing next? Well, I only know, and you will never know until it comes out, so ha! That said, I'm Cifro Joe. Good night.